Today's episode of the BS Podcast with Andy Cohen is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor and the only fan-friendly app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. Drop your old ticket app. Use one built for 2017 and beyond. 2017 is coming. You can even do absolutely everything on your phone. So download the free SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Today's episode also brought to you by TuneIn. I have some good news. The Bill Simmons podcast is now playing on TuneIn. You can already listen to every episode on the TuneIn audio app for free, but right now, TuneIn is giving listeners 20% off its premium subscription for limited time. I was a subscriber before they became a sponsor. TuneIn Premium allows me to catch the home broadcasts of my beloved Patriots, Celtics, and Red Sox at home or on the road. Sean Grandy and Cedric Maxwell are back in my life thanks to TuneIn. Every play, every team, every game. It's a must for sports fans, especially if you don't live in your hometown anymore. And with TuneIn Premium, you don't get to just hear your favorite sports teams live. You'll get great commercial-free music from around the world, plus unlimited access to every audiobook in the library of TuneIn, live or on demand. Go to tunein.com/The Ringer to get TuneIn Premium at 20% off. Again, tunein.com/The Ringer. 20% off. Download the TuneIn app right now and subscribe today. We're also brought to you by the Ringer Podcast Network and TheRinger.com, where I wrote a big column with Malcolm Gladwell last week, and I might have another column coming this week. So you have to go to TheRinger.com to find out. All right, let's do this. All right, I'm here with Andy Cohen from Watch What Happens Live. Bravo, former executive?
Yes, former executive.
I was always fascinated by that. You were in charge of the Bravo shows and then gave yourself a show, which I really appreciate and respect.
I didn't give myself a show. It didn't really work out that way, but everyone thought that I did give myself
Well, who gave you the show if you didn't give you the show?
Lauren Zelaznik and Jeff Zucker gave me the show.
Okay.
Lauren gave me a web show that I was doing after Top Chef and Project Runway, which became the basis for Watch What Happens Live. And
so you got some reps.
So I was doing the web thing, and then they needed someone to host. We needed someone to host a Housewives reunion, and my boss Lauren said, "Would you want to do it?" And I said, "Yes, I would love to do it. Are you kidding?" And then Michael Davies, who you know, came to Bravo and said, "I have this teeny little studio, and if you ever wanted to do the show Andy is doing online on the air, I could do it for very inexpensively."
That's Michael Davies' move. He's like a hundred millionaire, and he's always like, I got this little tiny closet over here. I might be able to make it work.
Exactly.
That's
and that's
why
how
he's
it works.
very rich.
Exactly. And then they said to me, "Do you want to do that?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And so they put it on at midnight once a week on Thursday nights. And
that was it?
And that was it. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a 12 episode thing, and then it's going to go away. And the truth is the ratings were good. And so it is impossible as head of, even though I was head of programming, if I had gone to my boss and said, I want to give myself my own show and I want to become the face of the network, she would have said, I want you to run programming. What do you think about that? So thankfully for me, it did well. And then they put it on 2 nights a week. And then I was pushing. I was like, I want you to make this a 5-night-a-week show, and then I'll eventually leave my job. And that's what happened.
Was there an invisible line that got crossed when all of a sudden celebrities were coming on and feeling comfortable? Because that's a hard place to get to with celebrities.
Yeah. I called every favor in the book I happen to have some good famous friends.
Yeah.
And I called a lot of them to get them on the show during that first 12 episode thing. I got Sarah Jessica Parker and Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson?
Exactly. And so
he wasn't trying to find his daughter?
No, he was not. No, at that point, I think it was betwing taking films, so he had a handle on where she was.
I'm a huge fan, obviously. As you can tell by my Roadhouse thing.
Yes,
I love that genre of
Yeah,
movies.
exactly. And God, Swayze looks like he's packing a little heat in those mom jeans, actually. I don't know.
I thought that was the famous Liam Neeson thing, wasn't he?
Liam has the biggest dick on the planet.
Yeah, he's like legendary for that, right?
Yes, he is. Yes.
That's why he's so calm in the Taken movies.
That's why he's so calm in life.
He's got such good balance. He's like a human tripod.
That's exactly right. And he has long legs.
So you called in favors. Show takes off.
But
did you know you wanted to be a TV star? Or it just
I
kind of
wanted
happened?
to be on camera at the very beginning of my career, but I gave it up pretty quickly because I gave it up quickly because I was told I had horribly crossed eyes by someone that I was an intern for at CBS News at my last internship. That and the fact that
that just got in your head?
What'd you say?
That got in your head?
It got in my head. And then also I loved being in New York. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to move to local markets and try to be a local reporter. I think I'd rather just move to New York and try to get a job behind the scenes at CBS News and see what happens. And I wound up spending 10 years at CBS News. And yeah, it was great. And so I kind of gave it up. I gave it up. My dream of being on the air.
Wow.
And I wound up at Bravo. Barry Diller offered me a job to run programming at his cable channel that he was starting called Trio, which was a channel that wound up being kind of brilliant but canceled. And then I was offered a job by the woman who had been running Trio, who then got moved over to Bravo to run programming at Bravo. And at the time they were starting Logo, which is the gay channel that Viacom owns. And I was like, I don't want to work at Bravo. I would rather go run this Logo channel. I was like, there's no one gayer than me. So like, why wouldn't they hire me? And they didn't hire me. And it's kind of turned out, I realized when I wrote my first book, I had forgotten that story. And then I was like, wow, if I had gotten that Logo job, I wouldn't be Bravo Andy. I wouldn't be writing this book. I wouldn't be the house, like none of this would have happened for me.
Go back to Trio for a second.
Okay.
I like Trio.
Oh, you did?
Trio had the old Letterman reruns.
Trio had...
Although they gave Joel Stein a week, and at that point I had my own column at ESPN. I was really bitter about it.
You were?
I was like, really? Joel Stein gets a week? And then he played the Battle of Network Stars card, which I totally would have played.
Yep.
And I just felt cheated by the whole thing. And it made me hate Joel Stein.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
But yeah, Trio was a
cool.
good experiment.
I love it that you know that. It was a great experiment. It was kind of what... to me, if PBS decided that they wanted to be a little cooler and a little more high-low, then that's what this was. It was a pop culture and arts channel with a lot of original documentaries. It was a really cool channel.
Well, you know what else hurt Trio? YouTube took off like in 2006.
Yeah.
And part of the appeal for me with Trio was like, oh, I used to love that show. Oh, they're showing that.
That's right.
And then it's like, oh, it's on YouTube.
It's a really good point.
And then that was it. So Bravo you go to. What state is Bravo in? What year do you get there?
I got there in 2004. And what happened is they were in production on season 1 of Project Runway. Queer Eye had started.
Yeah.
So it was the beginning of the big transformation at Bravo. And then after I was there came, 4 more seasons of Runway. We developed and got Top Chef going. We got Millionaire Matchmaker, Flipping Out, The Real Housewives, Rachel Zoe,
and it just starts
Southern
rolling.
Charm, Vanderpump, on and on and on.
Real Housewives.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Whose idea is that?
That happened through a series of events of a gentleman named Scott Dunlop coming to Bravo with home video of his neighbors in Coto de Cazo, whose hair was blonder, their boobs were bigger. And I don't know what his initial idea for the show was. I kind of remember that he wanted to do kind of a mockumentary kind of show.
Well, this was during the time of the Hills and
this
Laguna
was during
Beach
the time of the Hills, but these women weren't actresses, and I always loved soap operas.
Yeah.
Growing up, I loved All My Children. To me, I was like, wait a minute. These women live in a cul-de-sac. They all go to the same tennis club. They all eat at the same places. They live in the same gated community. It sounds like a reality Knots Landing, like a reality soap opera. At the time, Desperate Housewives was the biggest show on TV.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, well, what if we do this kind of soap opera-y show from the point of view of the women? You're going to barely see or hear from the husbands, was the original concept. It's all going to be about the women. And we'll call it The Real Housewives. And that's kind of how it started.
I remember there was some controversy, right? When like Desperate Housewives, weren't they mad about Real Housewives, or it was
Probably.
a storyline for like a week?
Yeah, probably. There was a moment also where at the beginning of The Real Housewives, they all hold oranges.
Yeah.
And legal at NBC Universal said, oh, we can't do that because Desperate Housewives, they're holding apples. And I remember Lauren Zalaznick, who ran Bravo, said, ABC doesn't own fruit. We can, we can do this. And then thank God we pushed ahead, because then New York is holding apples and Atlanta's holding peaches.
So let's go through the Housewives, because I may or may not have dabbled in that universe.
I think you have.
I have. My wife liked the New York one and the Beverly Hills one.
Yes.
We never
I
really watched
you being
Atlanta.
a Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills is my favorite one.
Jam. That's your jam.
I really liked that one.
Yeah.
It was good. I liked who's the tall one who was, oh, I'm blanking. Brandy.
Yeah.
So I saw her in person, and she was like tall and beautiful. I was surprised.
Yeah.
You forget, like these are like some Mac Daddy
dudes
ladies.
love them some Brandy.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best, like all around, pound for pound, start to finish, year one through year whatever, just what's been the best one of all of them?
Oh my God. You're asking me to pick which city?
Not asking you to pick. I'm asking you as a programming executive to just admit what the best one was.
Gosh.
What brings the most to the table from what you want from the Real Housewives franchise? I would say New York.
I don't think I can do it. I mean,
hasn't New York had the most twists
New
and
York has
turns
been
and drama?
incredible. I love New York so much. Like, I just think, for me, it's the funny. That and Atlanta are the funniest. But then Jersey, you just put the first 3 seasons of Jersey up against anything, and it's like it's like the Godfather trilogy. So it's really hard to discount that. You've got the just homespun connection of the OC ladies that really started it all, and then Atlanta, which is just kind of bigger and funnier and louder and more glam than any of the rest. So it's just a hard thing.
So Atlanta, can we say that one's the wildest?
Atlanta's the number one, by the way. I want to point out Atlanta gets the biggest ratings of all of them, and it is kind of the loudest.
Yeah. New York, I would say, is the highest society almost. It takes us into worlds that... No? Would you say Beverly?
No, I'd say Beverly Hills is. Yeah, Beverly Hills is the richest.
Because I live out here. I know, like, half of that's like...
Well,
it's people pretending they have more money than they do.
Perception is,
Yeah. I mean, some of them do, like that with David Foster.
Yes.
Like he really has lots and lots of money.
Yes, that's true.
But some of the other ones seem like they're kind of fudging it.
Right. I mean, the Maloofs, they owned part of the Kings, right?
That was the heyday of the Bev Hills one.
Yeah.
You had the Maloofs. You had Brandy's kind of sneaking in. You had the 2 sisters.
Yes.
The one who's acting erratically and nobody will say why. Who is that, Kim?
Kim, yes. They've said why now.
Now we know. We kind of knew at the time, but now we definitely know.
Yeah. Season 5. Season 4 and 5, I think, on that.
Kyle, who was the little girl in Halloween 1.
Yep, that's right.
Which is very bizarre.
Yeah.
Quick break to talk about our friends at Casper. Let's talk about a perfect mattress that's sold directly to consumers. Let's talk about an award-winning sleep surface developed in-house with a sleek design delivered in a small, how did they do that size box? Let's talk about Casper mattresses. They combine springy latex and supporting memory foams for a sleep surface that's got just the right sink and just the right bounce for people like the Simmons kids who have Casper mattresses. Plus, its breathable design sleeps cool to help you regulate your temperature through the night. Mattresses can often cost well over $1,500, but Casper mattresses cost $500 for a twin size, $750 for a full, $850 for a queen, and $950 for a king. Casper will deliver your mattress to you risk-free. Try it for 100 days, and if you're not happy, they will pick it back up. Find out why so many people love Casper. Get $50 toward any mattress purchase right now by going to casper.com/BS and use code BS. How easy is that? Terms and conditions apply. Again, Casper.com/BS. Back to Andy Cohen. Was there a Real Housewives that just didn't work and you had to scrap it?
Well, DC got tanked by the big White House party crash. If you'll remember the story that dominated the news for a period of months. The Salahis infamously crashed the White House, which was turned out to be an explosive 2-part finale of The Real Housewives of DC. But it also happened to be the series finale of the show because the show had such a stink on it from that party crash that it was like there was no going back. I actually liked that one.
Yeah, I would say worthwhile attempt.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of landmines, though. A lot of places you can't go.
Well, yeah.
Washington's very secretive
in general. When you
have
the FBI and, you know, the government trying to look at your raw footage from the Housewives, maybe you think, you know what, maybe we're not going to do this again.
Is there a city that hasn't gotten a Real Housewives yet that you've kept circling back to and just haven't been able to talk yourself into it?
You know, we wound up doing Dallas. It was kind of a really shock move on our part. Like we just brought out Dallas like 10 years into the game. We had been circling around Texas for a lot of years, on and off. There was a moment
there's
where
one I have.
What'd you say?
There's one that I think you should do. Maybe you've done it and I just missed it.
Aspen?
I think we're ready for Real Housewives of the Silicon Valley.
Have cast it.
You have so much money there.
Yeah, it's
true.
So much weirdness. And we did a reality show.
Trophy wives.
Yes.
Yeah, wives that are way too young for the old guy. Yep. I mean, there's a lot I would be interested in.
Yep, I agree.
They can go to San Francisco.
We've casted Napa before. Didn't happen.
Napa's got a lot of drinking. So when you say casted, what does that mean?
It means that either we have paid production companies or casting people to go to a town and just
like a sweep.
Do a sweep, go to the country clubs, find groups of friends, put them all on tape, tell us what you find.
Do you put ads?
They've done... They sometimes will put out ads saying we are casting for a group of women. A lot of times, I think there have been several companies who've gone to Scottsdale and said, we're casting for the Real Housewives of Scottsdale, but it's never been us. We never sanctioned anyone. It was like, they're just casting and then they plan to come pitch it to us. So it's kind of weird because then I start getting these tweets like, oh, I auditioned for your show. I'm like, it's not really us. It's someone else trying to pitch it to us. It gets a little janky.
You know.
Yeah.
All right. So you go to, I'm trying to think of a Silicon Valley country club.
I know.
You go to like,
are there?
Wherever the hell it is, whatever like one of the rich parts of Silicon Valley is. So you just send somebody to the country club and they're just kind of hanging around and sniffing it. Sniffing out the people? Like, I don't understand how that works.
So I think you find people in the town who go to a lot of charity events. You start talking to them.
Charity events is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you start talking to people. One thing leads to another. There's a famous story about season 1 of New York Housewives. We were down a housewife, and Jill Zarin took the producer to Polo, Bridgehampton Polo, which is a lot of people who are the type that would want to be on a show like this. And that's where she found Bethany Frankel. So, I mean, you know, there you go.
Who is the MVP? Probably the
say,
biggest star you've had as a housewife?
I'm going to say I'd put Nene Leakes up there. I'd put Lisa Vanderpump up there. Got to throw Vicky Gunvalson, the OG of the OC, up there. There's some Teresa Giudice. There's some stalwarts.
Jersey kind of freaked me out.
I understand, Bill.
That was my least favorite one. It just got too dark for me. You want to do a pillow adjustment?
Yeah, I'm doing a pillow adjustment.
Lisa Vanderpump.
Uh-huh.
There's like a 25-year age range of, if you told me how old she was, that I would believe.
Well, it's so funny
you
that
could tell
you
me
say
she's
that.
85 and I would believe that.
At the beginning, it was like... is she 70? Like, it was this weird thing.
Is she 40? Is she 80?
I believe she's in her, like, early 50s. Look it up, Tom.
Early 50s?
I think she's like 50.
No way.
She's 56. Okay.
So then she's 68.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, no, then she was able to change it on Google very quick, you know, on the web. That's hard to do. You know what I mean?
I love The Husbands, which was, I thought the best part of the Beverly Hills one was the husbands, because you have Ken,
yes,
the Lisa husband, who's walking around with the poodle.
Yes,
he's
exactly.
got. I don't even know how to
He's
describe
got
his
Rod Stewart hair.
He's open about the fact that he never has sex with his wife, which is like they might have sex once a year, which is always fascinating to
Valentine's
me.
Day,
Yeah, it's like her birthday, right?
Yeah, or Valentine's
See, that
Day.
guy, you're the real estate guy who's married to Mauricio,
Kyle's
who's clearly very Italian, and I don't know. I just feel
he's a Mexijew.
Is it Mexijew?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Mexican Jew.
He's not Italian?
No.
His name's Mauricio and he's not Italian?
It's weird. I know.
I kept waiting for like the huge adultery scandal with him, but apparently that's not happening.
I know.
Kim,
they seem to really,
what's her name?
They love each other a lot.
Not
Kyle
Kim,
Richards.
Kyle. Yeah, Kyle keeps him happy.
Yes.
Nice kids. Some of the kids blossom out of this and become.
Well, I mean, Gigi Hadid.
Gigi's like she was on Kimmel Show a month ago.
Yeah, she's huge.
But I do like the husbands. Who do you think's been the most entertaining husband?
Oh, that's a really good question. Simon Van Campen, early New York Housewives, was quite entertaining. They're usually entertaining, maybe for the wrong reason, you know.
All of those answers are wrong. It's Ken.
Ken's
the best.
He's
what
great.
else would you want from Ken?
No, I
Who
get
else
everything
walks
from
around
Ted.
holding a small dog?
No,
it's
I
like
get
he's a Bond villain.
I know. I get everything from Ken. You're right.
What was they had that guy who was living at his house? The guy who betrayed them?
Cedric, season 1, yes, he betrayed them.
That got weird.
Yes.
How much stuff have you had to cut out of these shows because Bravo might have gotten sued if the wrong information came out? Or
well, I mean, they all sign
libelous
releases,
stuff?
but yeah, I mean, there have been some tricky moments. Yeah.
Tricky. That's a very evasive answer for somebody who's written 3 books.
That's right.
You're saving that for book number 4?
No, I mean, look, I'm saving it for when the show's off the air, and I'm not.
None of these shows. How many shows are going now?
There's 7. There's 7, and there's no. Everybody wants us to do a Housewives All Stars, and I'm like, look, when the gas is running out, we'll throw 10 of them on an island for a month, and then it'll be great.
Housewives All Stars?
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
What does it look like? It looks like
you're putting them in like the Bahamas.
What would the world look like if you had Tamra, Phaedra, Erica, Jane, Dorinda, and Ramona on a boat together? I mean, what isn't awesome about that? A boat, an island, a confined space.
Like Cabo?
Yeah,
for
sure.
2 months?
Yes. 2 weeks.
I think confined space. Like
confined
put them
space.
in a zoo.
Yes, confined space. Hot box environment.
So when you film those reunion specials, which is really the bread and butter, there's so much. What do you split them into 3 parts?
Oh yeah, I'm always the guy who, at lunchtime, I turn to the producers and I'm like, you guys know that we're working on a 3-parter now, and they're like, no, we do not have enough
definitely
for 3.
2.
I'm like, I haven't gotten to this, and then I'll leave and I'll be like, we have 3, you guys, and there have been 1 or 2 times in Atlanta where I'm like, we're looking at a 4-parter.
4-parter.
Yeah, we did. I think we did a 4-parter once for Atlanta.
How long do you have them trapped in that confined space?
That's a hot box. That's like about a 10-hour situation there.
10 hours?
You know it, Bill.
What?
Yeah. First of all, there are some spackling breaks where you got to respackle the houses. There are some lunch breaks you have to factor in for some walk-offs. You have to factor in for some
I love the walk-offs.
Nipple tape.
They always have to come back. Nipple tape.
They got to come back. You got, sometimes around 5 o'clock, they want us to start popping bottles to get them through the next 3-4 hours. And then if daddy has a dinner reservation, he starts getting cranky around 7-8 o'clock. And I'll be like, you guys I have a dinner at 9.
So I would say that would be the hardest on you.
Yes.
Like, what's your process? Do you have like a giant, all these index cards that you're trying to remember to go through?
My process is that I'm actually an executive producer of the show all season long, and I know every inch of what's happened. So I'm in. It's like you with basketball. What's your You don't need anything. You're ready to go.
That is true. I don't need anything.
Right,
I'm ready to roll.
Go.
So you're just going boom. Do you ever feel like...
Don't you think they should do reunion shows at the end of basketball seasons?
Why
are you not doing that?
It'd be amazing.
I mean, with the team...
I would love to host it.
By the way, talk to the NBA. It's like, I want to do the reunion show for the Warriors this season, and then you get them all together, and then...
What's funny about that idea
I think
is
that's
that
actually like an amazing idea.
no, but what's funny about that idea is it would be so great with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. Like
Right.
Kevin, Russell was really dismissive of you early in the year. And
Right.
him just sitting there stewing.
Right.
Russell would definitely walk off at some point and then have to
Yeah.
come back because contractually
Yes.
you have to come back.
Right.
That's a great idea.
It is.
Well, they do. I know it's not your network, but they do that Basketball Wives show,
Yes.
which is it feels like that should just be on Bravo. It bothers me.
It does. It's a
And
little more
feels like-
ratchet.
well, that's what I
than,
mean. It feels like you could do a better class version.
Right. I haven't seen much, but it seems fairly one note, which is just all 100.
I would say fairly is the wrong word. I would just say it's one note. Yeah.
I think the great thing about the Housewives is one of the great things. If it was all one note, we wouldn't still be talking about it 11 years later. It's actually funny, and it's there are people that you root for and root against, and people that you love and love to hate. It's like it's a good soap opera.
Not only is it not one note, but when somebody throws a glass of champagne at somebody else on a
Yeah.
Real Housewives show, it has real meaning.
It does.
It doesn't happen that often.
No.
It's really you feel the you feel the
Yes.
anger when it happens.
Beverly Hills, I think it's happened once or twice, 7 seasons.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Has there been what's the weirdest thing that's been thrown at somebody? Hors d'oeuvres?
No, just wine.
Like a shrimp cocktail with some
No.
cocktail sauce on it?
No shrimp.
Just wine.
Just wine. Yeah.
Has there ever been there's been a legitimate fist fight in the Jersey one, right?
Jersey has had a couple fisticuffs. I got thrown by a rag doll by Teresa at a reunion once.
What are you talking about?
She pushed me. She pushed me. I was
Really?
getting between her and where she wanted to be. Yeah. It's an amazing piece of tape.
I don't know
Yeah, I
how
got
I didn't
pushed.
see that. That's
Yeah, I got
incredible.
pushed. Yeah.
Is
I
it
got
at least a
pushed.
GIF? Is it on the internet as a GIF?
It's the
It must
gift
be.
that keeps on giving. Are you kidding me? It's the most.
Who's favored if
gift-
you and Teresa just throw down?
She's a tough.
I would say she's favored.
Yeah.
She's.
I don't know. I'm
she's
stronger
really-
than you might think. But you know what?
she's
got from
crazy. You're not crazy, crazy,
exactly.
though.
You know what? I'm a nice Jewish guy from St. Louis. She wins the fight.
Well,
Yeah.
she at least keeps fighting until 7 people are pulling
Yes.
her.
It's true.
Or telling her to go
There's-
away or take a
there's the
walk.
gift. It's kind of amazing. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
What was your reaction after that happened?
You know what? I was kind of in shock and just trying to run the reunion, and I semi forgot about it. And I remember at the end of the day, I was like, "Did I get pushed?" And when I saw the footage in the Super Tease for the reunion, I was like, "This is I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. I thought it was hilarious.
You're like Vince McMahon.
I thought it was awesome. I loved it. I thought it was
well,
great.
so where does reality go? Because if you think
in
about
the
it
Trump
now,
world.
well, I mean, all right, well, that's a whole separate
Yeah, no,
conversation.
that
but
is.
like, it seems like the shows that are successful now are the same shows that were successful 5 years ago. You know,
Well, that's
It's-
also TV. I mean, it's harder to.
why isn't there
New hits
innovation
are-
anymore?
Let's see. Well, Lip Sync Battle is a unscripted big hit show.
Is that does Lip Sync Battle have a 7-year?
Run.
I don't think so. I think it's it relies too much on who the celebrities are,
Right.
And they're going to run out of that.
Right.
Like something like Housewives, you just keep going for
Yes.
30 years,
Well,
and
it's
there's
a
more
great,
cities to
it's
go
a
to.
great formula because it's not dependent on one woman. We mix it up every season. You bring
Nobody's
people
bigger
in and
than the
out.
brand. The
That's
brand
right.
always wins.
That's right.
And that's like same thing with Survivor.
Yeah, I love Survivor.
And if Celebrity Apprentice wins, there's a case of the brand being bigger than who the host was. I'll be
That's
interested
right.
to see if it works or not. But
Yeah.
it's surprising to me that there hasn't been really a monster reality show franchise created in maybe even this
True.
decade.
I'm trying to think.
MTV still has Real World and The Challenge, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't even know if MTV still does The Real World.
Yeah, they
do?
It does.
Oh.
There's a stealth
Yeah.
one going on right now.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget what city it is.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it seems like everything moved toward cooking,
Yeah.
which is something
Yes.
you guys were in on
Huge.
early, but there's so
Yep.
many cooking shows now.
Yep.
Or trying to
Cutthroat
find,
Kitchen.
people trying to find stuff.
Yeah.
Like those things where they open the lockers and
Yeah. Is Naked and Afraid a big show? Naked and something.
maybe it all
Yeah, right.
sprinters. And then obviously you have The Bachelor and shows like
Right.
that, but those are
Yes.
also shows
Those are
that
old
have,
shows.
been around for a while. So I can't figure out
Yeah.
where it goes or why there hasn't been a new one.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you can't either, obviously.
I can't either.
Well, you're too
I'm
busy
happy
now.
to be
You don't
riding.
have time to innovate
No, I don't.
anymore.
I'm happy to be riding the train I'm riding on, actually.
Quick break to talk about Betterment. How should I manage my money? That's a great question. And whether you're a multi-million-dollar investor or you're just starting out, the answer is Betterment. Betterment is the largest independent automated investing service, managing more than $5.5 billion for over 100,000 customers as of September 2016. Their mission is to help people manage and grow their wealth. That's why they develop smarter technology that automates investing, helps you make better financial decisions, and helps you invest for your personal goals. Betterment provides investing advice through smart technology with real people to help with account support. Keep more of your money with fees that are a fraction of what you could pay for traditional financial services. And I know investing involves risk, but right now my listeners can get up to 6 months of no fees at Betterment. To learn more, visit Betterment, MENT at the end there, betterment.com/BS. That's betterment.com/BS. Betterment, investing made better. All right, back to Andy Cohen. Do you guys feel like you're number one?
Does who feel like we're number
Bravo.
one? Well, I mean, I'm not in charge of programming at Bravo anymore. I think
you're
Bravo
there,
is.
though.
I think Bravo is definitely. I think Bravo has a really strong brand, and they're doing. I mean, it's like it doesn't seem like they are in any form of letting up, and they've got a good bench. Besides the Housewives, they have Vanderpump Rules and Top Chef and Southern Charm and Below Deck and a lot of shows that have become big actually in the last few years for them. So
what about the streaming, like Netflix and Hulu, all these things, and you can get stuff, you can catch up on seasons.
Yeah.
Is there any of the Housewives shows or anything else?
I think
that
the
people
Housewives might be on Hulu.
Yeah.
I think they might be on Hulu.
But do those have a shelf life in that, like a retroactive
That's
catching
a good
up?
question. I mean, I think people, weirdly, people who love the Housewives, they love to go back and watch old episodes.
Yeah.
So, and people, I've talked to a lot of people who are like, look, I've never seen it. Which city should I start on? People love binging now that it's actually not unheard of that they would say. And I'll say, like, look, you can't beat Jersey. Watch the first 3 seasons and see what happens,
I think those shows have an interesting effect on the viewer, because my wife, who always talks about like different shows, they're her friends. When Sex and the City finally ended, she was like, I'm bummed out. Those people were my friends.
Yes, exactly.
She didn't even know any of them.
Right.
But she felt like...
people feel the same way about the Housewives, 100%.
Like Bethany, she's like, I like Bethany. I'd be friends with her. Like, they just assume... And I think that's been a big reason for your success.
Yeah.
So I think people feel like, I don't have a gay friend, but if I did, that would be my gay friend.
I think you hit it. And I've heard it from so many. I'm on a book tour right now, and I've heard it when I go out. I hear from so many women, like, you're my gay best friend. And I love that. I think it's awesome. And I think, it's cool.
My wife thinks there should be a Match.com to match up married women with gay friends.
That's
like
really
her billion dollar idea.
That is a great idea.
She's like, I would just
do that.
I never get to and it's like there's just be a
GBF,
website. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what that website would be called.
It would be called GBF and
GBF.
Gay guys looking for.
That's it.
Yes.
You could start that. I also have a reality idea for you.
Okay.
I get a co-creator thing, and that's it. But you can do it. Malibu Little League.
Wow.
So there's this Little League field in Malibu.
Yeah.
Right across from Pepperdine.
Okay.
That's on a cliff.
Yep.
It's beautiful. It's like you can't even believe this is a Little League field. It's literally the Pacific. Have you ever seen the Pepperdine campus where the Chappelle Network starts?
Yes.
So across street from that, there's this Little League field. And then there's a cliff, and there's the Pacific Ocean, and it's like the end of Shawshank Redemption.
Wow, yeah.
And they play Little League games there. And anytime I've ever driven by it, I've always been like, that should just be a reality show. And I don't even have anything other than the title. Well, what are the moms like? Are the moms driving the kids in?
Well, look, you just said Malibu Little League.
Malibu Little League, like right away, it rolls off the tongue, right?
It does. But I mean, is it Little League : Malibu? Because then we want to do Little League : Pensacola, or whatever the other spinoffs are.
So you go Little League : Malibu?
That's what I'm wondering. I like Malibu Little League, obviously.
Malibu Little League's a great
title. It spoke
title.
to me right when you said it.
I knew it would.
It did.
It's the best idea.
It did.
Tommy, you like Malibu Little League?
Yeah, it's really good. There's a show on...
You know somebody sleeps with the coach. That happens in season 1. You cast the coach. He's like 29-year-old.
Yes.
Super handsome,
Yes.
6'2", totally willing to flirt with the moms,
Yes.
and you just go. That's
Totally.
it, boom.
Totally.
You're out because the dads aren't showing up.
No, they're not around.
The moms are in there. They're showing up in the Range Rovers and all that
100%
stuff.
in Malibu.
So in this third book, you were pretty open about your sex life and stuff.
I was, yeah.
You ratcheted it up.
I did. My second book was a diary of a year in my life, and I kept writing after I turned that one in.
Yeah.
And so thinking, you know what? I bet they're going to want another one, and so much is happening that I think it's cool. It's like I deconstruct everything from late night television to being famous to the housewives to dating and everything else. So I was so into writing that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put everything in this, and when I go back to edit the book, I'll take stuff out. But the truth is, I didn't wind up taking out a lot that I planned on it. So there's a lot of kind of sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the book that I wasn't planning on keeping in there.
And you said you were worried some of your friends would be upset about stories you passed on and things like that.
Yeah, I was worried about some of the housewives and some of the celebrities on Watch What Happens Live. Some of the people I went on dates with, I'm now hearing from, whose names I didn't use.
Oh, they were upset that you didn't mention them, or that you mentioned them and used pseudonyms?
I went on a date with someone who was a bartender on my show, and it was like a really boring date, and he texted me like a screenshot of the page about the date and was like, I actually had a really good time on that date. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't.
What's it? I mean, when did you become famous? Like 2010?
I became famous. I'm gonna say
it would be earlier than that.
It was a slow build. So
Yeah.
Watch What Happens Live has been on for 7.5 years, but I hosted reunion shows for a few years before that. I'm gonna say
that's when it started. Then
3 years. But I'll tell you when the moment that I actually felt different, like, oh, wait, because it was this slow build. But there have been a couple moments. I remember getting recognized in the Chicago airport, and I was like, oh, well, this is interesting because I'm in Chicago now. And it just felt different. But the moment that I feel that people really started knowing who I was when Teresa pushed me at that reunion.
Wow.
I was in the Hamptons when it aired. It generated so much press, and I was like, wow, this is weird. And I started getting all these interview requests, and I came back into the city. I was on vacation, and I came back, and people all over the city were like, hey, and coming up to me and like, you got pushed, dude, like all this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, I think I'm famous now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird.
What's been like the peak audience for one of the Housewives reunions?
Oh.
Has it gotten to like...
Oh, it's gotten
7, 8,
4.
9?
No, it's gotten over 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that change, because you were pretty open about you love to date and go out and do stuff. When you notice people are treating you differently, did it become harder to be like, do I trust this person?
No,
do they like me?
I'm a really good judge of character.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, it's kind of the perception that you think people would be like, oh, maybe it would be different if I was straight and girls were, I think that sometimes girls, if you're straight, there is more of I think, energy about what is the long-term goal here. Like, oh, do you want to get married? Do you want to be in a serious relationship? Yeah. And I don't think it's as heavy with gay people.
What about something like Tinder? Can you even be on Tinder?
I was on Tinder, and I was on Tinder for the first diary book, the Andy Cohen Diaries, and part of me joined because I thought it would be interesting while I was writing this diary to go on Tinder dates, and it wasn't. The thing is, you both have to swipe, so it's not like they were random people, but they were people that I was interested in swiping on. And, and to me, I was like, look, this is a way for me to meet like an architect in Brooklyn who I maybe wouldn't meet, or a scientist on the Upper East Side. And so, some of them knew who I was and some of them didn't, but I could pretty much tell. And then if I met them out for a drink, it's like, look, if we sit down and they immediately want to start talking about the Housewives, it's going to be a pretty quick date.
Right.
So
they go right to that, boom, and you're like,
then I'm like, you know what? This is not.
Well, what should people talk to you about on a date?
I don't know.
Because, it sucks to talk about work.
Yeah, I mean, I also, though, I do like talking about work. You can just read a person's energy, whether it's a fan thing. I wrote a story in the new book, which is called Superficial, about, it was meta, this moment, because I was on the book tour for the other book and I was writing a diary of this book where I wrote about meeting this straight couple who tried to get together with me, and we went out. It's a long story, but through a weird series, I was like, yeah, let's go out. And so we went out for drinks, and the woman was like a huge fan of mine. And so it was this weird kind of dynamic of trying to, the three of us, like, have a flirt going, and her also being like, oh my God, what's Lisa Vanderpump? You know what I mean? So it's wild.
That's crazy. Have you had somebody come on Watch What Happens Live, one of the guests? We were like, they're kind of keeping the eye contact with me here a little bit longer than. There's a vibe going on.
Yeah, I've had some moments with bartenders on the show, and with a couple people. Yeah, it's one of the perks of hosting a late night talk show.
Who is the best? By the way, I always ask Kimmel about that.
Okay.
Even though Kimmel's had a girlfriend or a wife the entire time he has that show, there's times there's a guest going to come on where you're going to have a little kinetic connection with them. Who is like your go-to? Like Letterman always had Terry
Oh my God,
Garr.
I have so many go-to. God, those Terry Garr Lettermans. Terry Garr and Sandra Bernhard on Letterman.
He made Terry Garr take a shower.
He did.
Yeah.
I don't remember
He did
that.
a show in his office, and at the end of the show, he made Terry Garr take a...
She was amazing. And Sandra Bernhard on
Sandra
that show
Bernhard
was
was
unbelievable. You know what? Sandra Bernhard is a go-to of mine, actually. She's on my radio channel, on my Sirius radio channel, and she lives in New York, and I'm friendly with her. She's a go-to of mine. Rachel Dratch is a good go-to. I mean, obviously, I call the Housewives, my kind of broadcasting role model is Howard Stern. Yeah. And I feel like no one goes there in late night. I feel like I go there in a way on late night in a way that the other hosts don't. And I don't know that you can go there on network TV in the way that I do or Howard does.
You can't.
And I think that I do. The reason I do it is because I started doing it with the Housewives. And then I just was like, well, this is my deal and my shtick. So if you're coming on my show, I'm going to do it with you too. But so I view the Housewives as my whack pack. Like Howard Stern has his whack pack. And so they're my bread and butter on Watch What Happens Live. And then there's a whole galaxy of other people who I just love having on.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Stern because you have the same skill that he does. And part of it is the skill and part of it is people know what they sign up for when they go on the show.
100%.
They're on your show and you're going to ask them stuff.
Right,
and it's like, that's part of the deal.
Right.
And,
we don't pre-interview our guests.
Yeah. And it's like, they're a dick if they don't answer the questions. Like, why the fuck did you come on then?
Right.
So you have them trapped, which is how Stern operates. And he
not only are they trapped, but I'm live, like Stern is too. So I'm the only live show in late night. You can't stop tape or else you're going to walk out.
Right.
Which is, and by the way, I'm kind of excited for the first guest to actually leave during the show.
That hasn't happened yet.
That has not happened yet.
Have you felt like a guest was... almost had the deer in the headlights, like, oh shit, I went too far.
Several, there was a moment where Alicia Silverstone was on with Padma Lakshmi, and Alicia Silverstone had that thing where she talked about that method of feeding your baby where you chew up the food and spit it in their mouth.
I remember this.
And it was a big controversy, and I brought it up, and I could tell immediately that she didn't want to talk about it, which would have been sign enough for me to change subjects and pivot, which I will because I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable.
That's how I feel too.
Padma didn't see her eyes, and Padma was like, what? That's gross. Why do you do that? Like, and she then wouldn't leave it alone, and I was like, oh God. And during the commercial break, it was like, because we're live, and Alicia Silverstone looked at me, and I was thinking, and I think even her publicist came in, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I'm off this. I'm through talking, whatever. So there have been a few times like that.
And the funny thing is, it's fucking weird, and I'm glad you brought it
weird.
up. Who chews their food for their
Right.
kid?
Oh, that's
I've never
weird.
heard
Yes.
of such a thing.
Yeah. No, that's weird. But it's weird to be. It's so fun and weird and interesting to be live. You actually don't know what's going to happen. I mean,
I could tell. We went to see you, I think in 2000. It was like October 2014 because we were putting together the Grantland basketball show, and we wanted to have a set like your set.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's just go.
I know.
Called
I go, are you trying to rip my show off?
No. Ours ended up somehow being nothing like your set, even though.
Right.
Because what I was intrigued by was, could we have the show here, but the 20, 30, whatever people like right here. Mm-hmm. And the way ESPN does TV, we just couldn't do it. It had to be like way back. But when we showed up, I just couldn't believe how small it is. And TV's always smaller in person. Yeah. But you have everybody like packed in on each other, which you like though. You like the energy of it.
We just announced yesterday that we're moving to a new studio.
I saw that. I was almost disappointed.
It is going to look exactly the same. There's just kind of it's like moving from a Tic Tac to a studio apartment, basically. And our audience which was 22 people, is going to be like 48 people now, which is huge for us, but it's still going to feel the same.
So what do you think that does for the show?
I think it's
basically just more
be
people reacting.
I think it's going to be more people in the audience. And for me, I've been doing this 7.5 years. And so for me, it's going to be a great kind of energizing change. But I feel like for the audience, it will still feel as intimate and authentic. I think that's what people love about the show. It's totally authentic. It's an authentic half hour in a world of stuff that's kind of pre-produced and set up, and there's a lot of pre-interviews, and there's it's like, oh, you recently went to Mexico, tell me about that, and telling the story. So I love it that the guests don't know what they're going to get into. Last night I had 50 Cent and Leah Remini on, and I asked 50 Cent about the last time Vivica Fox was on. She alleged that 50 Cent was gay on my show, and that was one of those great live TV moments where I was like, hold up, what?
Right.
And I was like, and I turned to the camera in the control room. I'm like, kill the game, kill everything. I am not dropping this subject for a half an hour. Like, we're beating this to death. So we start getting into it, and it's a whole thing. And then 50 Cent starts responding on Instagram. It was great. So last night was the first time 50 Cent had been on since this happened. So I'm sitting there, and I said, by the way, last time, I got to ask you, Vivica Fox was here, and she said this, and he said, well, that's because I let her lick my ass. And she maybe thought that only gay guys let that happen or something. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. And then Leah Remini's like, wait a minute. And I'm like, okay, we're staying on this topic. So, I mean, we beat this topic to death, but it was so awesome. And, this wouldn't happen anywhere else. You're not going to, and by the way, if I had said to 50 Cent's people, by the way, I'm asking him about this gay thing, of course they would have shut it down, and none of this ever would have happened. So it's great.
So what do we think the answer is?
What about him being gay? I don't think he's gay. Yeah.
It's a really interesting counter.
Yes.
To the whole thing. And it seems like a very hidden way for him to make Vivica Fox kind of look bad.
Exactly. And now she is posting on Insta. It's like she has challenged him to go and watch What Happens Live together, which is, of course, my fantasy.
Oh, that would be like your Super Bowl.
Great. Yeah, exactly.
Have you had one where you had the two guests where it's almost like you're pitting them against each other in a way?
We've had two guests. We've had guests on that don't seem like... We've booked people purposefully that we've been like, oh my God. Like we had JWoww from Jersey Shore on with James Fry once, or we had the author. We had Jenna Jameson with Clay Aiken. We had Dan Rather and John Mayer. We had Connie Chung and Matt Harvey from the Mets. Like, so we've had weird combinations of people that have just been fun. And then we've had other combinations that all of a sudden the show starts and you're like, oh my God, they hate each other. And everyone on Twitter's like, oh, your guests won't look at each other. What's going on?
So you think they hate each other going into it, or just it's an instantaneous?
Sometimes someone will say something. I think it was Joan Rivers' last appearance. She was on with Maxim from Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
And he said something to her we do a live promo at like 10:40 p.m.
Yeah.
We bring the guests in for it. He said something to her and she flipped on him and was like, she said to me before the show, just watch, I'm going to eviscerate this guy on live television.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my God, what's gonna, and then he got her back during, like within 5 minutes of the show, he revealed to her that he was like Jewish and a refugee and something where I saw it flip. And he got her back. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because, Joan Rivers, when she turned on you, there was no one more loyal and awesome than Joan Rivers. But I have seen her turn on audience members who heckled her, and also just, you don't want to piss off a drag queen with a microphone, a rabbi with a microphone, or Joan Rivers.
That's the
or
three?
a comedian, or like a comedian. Just be careful with
drag
comedians.
queen with a microphone.
Oh, drag
That's
queens
a good
with a
one to
mic are
remember.
brutal. Yeah. Just
Kate, you write that one
duck
down?
and cover.
Okay.
Just duck and cover. But yeah, no. So that was a wild moment. There was a moment where there was a Real Housewife who came on, and she was sitting in the second seat. There is no second. There's only 2 chairs on my show, but I have 2 guests at once. And she was on with a big movie star, and she took great offense that she, who considered herself this big star, was in the second seat. And she was like shut down for the whole show.
Wow.
And people were tweeting about it. And I came back from commercial break, and I'm like, people are tweeting that you seem very guarded and pissed off tonight. Is something going on? She's like, no. I'm like, all right.
Who is the most beautiful person who has been on the show? In person, that you were like just.
You know what? J-Lo always.
Everyone says J-Lo's the
I'm telling
best.
you, she really does stagger me in person. She is quite, and I've had a galaxy of beautiful women on the show, but she definitely is someone that jumps out to me. Yeah.
I like that question because everybody has the first answer. Everybody has somebody that blew
and it's
them
hard
away
for me to
some
remember
reason.
because it's been 7.5. It's like, it's a lot of people, but she's definitely up there.
Can I ask you a celebrity culture question?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like we have to be Team Brad or Team Angelina in this whole thing? I feel like I have to pick sides as if two of my friends were getting divorced.
I feel like there's no doubt about whose side. It's Brad. She's nuts.
Thank you.
She's nuts.
Everyone in the ringer made me feel bad because I was like, I'm Team Brad.
What?
He's just this dumb stoner who he was married to Aniston.
Yes.
Angelina got him into her fold.
Right.
All of a sudden he's got 6 kids and 4 houses.
And you have to look at the history of her terrorizing. I had a big scandal recently with Melissa Etheridge, who came on my radio show and started talking about this and started trashing Angelina. And she used to be great friends with Brad. And Melissa Etheridge was great friends with Brad. And she's like, look at Angelina's history of taking people away from their friends and then destroying and all this stuff. And she wound up getting a call from Angelina Jolie's fixer, who is the real life scandal lady, the real life Olivia Pope,
God.
who knew that Melissa then was coming on Watch What Happens Live that night. And she said, if you don't retract your statements about Angelina, we're going to go after you. And
what does that even mean?
I don't know, but Melissa Etheridge was all freaked out. And I had run into Melissa Etheridge that day. It's so weird. And she goes, I don't know what to do. And so that night before the show, she wrote a song called The Fixer Blues. And she sang it on Watch What Happens Live. And it was all about the real story of this fixer calling her.
Did people know, or they just
Yeah,
didn't
she
even...
explained it all in the story, and I filled in the blanks before and after, and it was kind of amazing. And again, that's why I love live TV. You don't know what's going to happen.
The Brad Pitt, it was like, oh, something happened on the airplane. the FBI's involved. And then in 4 weeks later, it's like, yeah, nothing happened on the airplane.
She called TMZ and revealed all this. I mean,
this was a good one in terms of people had their little sides that they had that they went to and fed information. Because it seemed like Us Weekly was pro Brad Pitt, and they were kind of saying what his side of things were.
TMZ was
pro Angelina.
Pro Angelina, yeah.
But it was destined to fail because By the Sea has been on HBO from time to time
right
over the last month, and I actually watched 10 minutes, and it's basically like this fucked up married couple going, and it's when married couples start making actual movies about married couples in trouble.
It's bad.
Isn't that a red flag? And then Brad Pitt's next movie is he's married to a German spy. These are his 2 movie choices he makes. Like, of course he was having marital issues. He knew. I think he was just home at night with this big bong, just thinking about his 4 houses and his 6 kids. And he's like, what did I do? I have 6 kids. Who has 6 kids?
I'm from Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
I got to deal with Maddox now.
He's like a character actor who was too handsome to be a character actor, so he became a real actor.
1000%.
But really, he should have just been a character actor and not have 6 kids.
Shiloh's cultural diversity class? No.
Yeah, I mean, he might have more than 6 kids.
He might.
I feel bad for him, though.
I do, too.
You don't think there's any way him and Aniston get back together, right?
No.
I mean, she's married.
It's over.
She's probably bitter.
Yeah, I think that's over.
Aniston, Angelina, and Brad, we're never going to top it.
No.
For a celebrity story. I think it's the peak.
Yes.
It's the peak story that we'll ever have.
It's true.
It's the most angry I've ever heard my wife and her friends about anything.
Right. When he left.
Just everything.
Yeah.
And people forget, like Angelina, all the women were out on Angelina, and then she pulled them all back because she did some really cool things.
Audrey Hepburn.
Humanitarian. Yeah. Wrote some great editorials.
Right.
All the way she raised attention to breast cancer.
Right.
And it seems a million years ago she's
like
making out with her brother and all that stuff.
I don't know where she goes now.
Angelina.
Yes.
Is she a movie star anymore?
That's the question.
She hasn't. The Lara Croft, like those type of movies, those are 10 years ago.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And is Brad Pitt?
I don't know.
He really hasn't since Moneyball.
He's gonna,
He wasn't very good in Allied, I heard. I hadn't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he looked pretty like going through the motions.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
She only has Maleficent too. That's the only thing she has.
Oh, Maleficent too.
Yeah.
Her gimmick in the mid-2000s was, I am the best looking woman in the world, and I could steal your husband in 5 minutes.
Right.
Don't leave me in a room alone with your husband. I will take him.
Right.
And I'm also a good actress.
Right.
Now, I don't know what her gimmick is.
I don't either.
Her gimmick is I have 6 kids, and I got a flat in my house in New Orleans, and then my house in
it's weird.
Paris.
Now
and all
it's
that
weird.
Stuff. All right, so your book tour, where you heading? Where else are you going?
I'm almost done. I'm going to Miami tomorrow. I'm going to DC next week. I'm almost done.
And then what happens?
Great. And
do you write book 4? How many?
Yeah, I'm gonna do book 4, but
you
I
just
don't
chronicle your life in these
No,
books.
I'm done with the diaries.
Okay.
It became kind of emotionally and existentially exhausting living my life and reporting on it for publication at the same time. And so I am done with that. I love to write. I love these books. I'll get another idea at some point and then I'll just jam. But right now, I'm just focusing on Watch What Happens Live.
And Malibu Little League.
And Malibu Little League.
Malibu Little League, we have that. Tommy's ready. Tommy's ready to do stuff with it.
Malibu Little League.
Malibu Little League,
and
that's all we have.
Aspen Little League. I feel like this is the one that is the maybe like Bridgehampton Little League. Like it's
Hampton's Little League.
Hampton's Little League. It's only in the real, like super high end. Scratch Pensacola. It's like really like Star Island Little League on Miami. You know
I have
what
2
mean?
goals. I have big ratings as one goal, and then the second goal is the critical piece somebody writes about how we're exploiting the kids.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh, that'll
just
happen.
Typical reality. But meanwhile, the 12-year-olds are the real victims. Those would be my 2 goals for this thing.
Yes, exactly.
Andy Cohen, this was a pleasure. Oh, I forgot one last question.
Yeah.
How did you get Andy as your Twitter feed?
I bought it off some guy who didn't realize it was me buying it off of him.
When was that? How many years ago?
So many years ago.
It's an amazing Twitter handle.
When I first joined Twitter, I tried to get it, and I threw an intermediary, and the guy was like, no. And then it was Bravo Andy. And then a couple years after that, we kept offering, and he wanted what I thought was a lot of money. And then suddenly when I was like, wait a minute, this actually isn't so much money, and this is valuable to me. And so, I got it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm coming on your show at some point.
I'm
love
so
it.
ready.
Dave
I would absolutely love it.
Yeah, I don't know who you'd pair me with, and I wouldn't have a story about how somebody licked my butthole, but I think I could be a good guest.
I think you'd be a great guest.
Yeah,
100%.
Maybe not I couldn't cross the 50 cent line.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. There are other lines that will be
Is
crossed.
that the craziest thing somebody said on your show? No,
dude, it is unbelievable. We had Scott Eastwood was on, and he talked about. I was like, I think I said, have you ever? Why did I ask him if he'd ever had a three-way, or I don't know. He revealed that like his ex-girl, or if he's been cheated on, he was like, yeah, remember when Ashton Kutcher slept with that girl that broke up his marriage to Demi Moore? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I was dating that girl at the time. I'm like, what? Like, so many people say things that I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. And then it turns into a big thing. It's great.
But that's an amazing talent to be able to just get people to say shit like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Only a couple people have been able to do it, and you're one of them.
I love it.
It's great. You must be like, ah.
No, I love it. And I will be like, and I will latch onto it.
Yeah.
And my viewers know, they see me. Someone tweeted a GIF of me last night listening to 50 Cent talk about this whole thing. And I was like, a freaking, a linebacker walking into the Palm Steakhouse. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, great. Give it to me.
All right, follow Andy on Twitter at Andy.
Get Superficial. More adventures from the Andy Cohen Diaries.
Available on the
best Christmas gift for your lady that you will be able to get. She'll be thrilled.
That is a really good idea.
It is a great. She'll be like, wait a minute. How did you know that I was going to want this book?
What do you think is my daughter's 11 and a half, but loves celebrity culture, and is already listening to Jam Session, a podcast that we have on The Ringer.
Yeah.
When do you think she crosses that Real Housewives line?
Well, I think
age 13?
Something like that. I think it depends. Again, I think it's a thing that I would want it with a little parental supervision so that she understands this is not to be emulated. This is actually horrible, about some of the behavior.
She has a good sense of that already.
She's your kid. I think she knows. So,
She watched some Bachelorette, and I was really proud of how she reacted to some of the things that happened.
That's good.
It was all the reactions I wanted her to have. I was like, all right, this is good.
It's actually, I was on NPR in San Francisco yesterday, and I got hammered by some callers who were like, your show, it's the end of civilization and all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? Look, people know the difference between right and wrong, and this is escapism, and it's entertainment. And so, I do think that for the kids.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm so proud we got through all this without talking about the election.
Kudos
to us.
Actually. I know.
Who the hell wants to even hear about it anymore?
It's true.
All this other stuff's better.
I know, it's true.
All right. Andy Cohen, thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much to SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor and the only fan-friendly app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. Drop your old ticket app. Use one bill for 2017 and beyond. Do everything on your phone. Download the free SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Thanks to TuneIn Premium. Thanks to Betterment. And thanks to Channel 33, The Ringer's most eclectic podcast that features the most entertaining shows for pop culture, wrestling, gaming, and more. Subscribe to Channel 33 and all of the other Ringer podcasts on your favorite audio platform. And don't forget to go to theringer.com, where I have been writing. I wrote a big thing with Gladwell last week. I might have another thing coming this week. Go to theringer.com to find it, and we'll be back with this podcast on Friday, the Bill Simmons Podcast. Thanks for your support. Talk to you then.